This is a reading of a special report we here at Sparkyl released yesterday, in light of the news in Venezuela. We constructed this report and pushed it out on its own, ahead of our regular magazine publication, because it's crucial in moments like these, when the violence of the capitalist imperial system is being laid bare to everyone, and the capitalist imperialists themselves are showing their true violent colors, that communists must break through the noise of the liberal political theater, so to speak, with an actual material understanding of what is going on. The sooner we do this and the better we are able to saturate these correct understandings through society, the more rapidly the masses, and especially the working class, will develop into the force we communists are always striving to bring about, and that is so desperately needed in the world. To this point, we invite our listeners to share this video with anyone who might be interested, because in addition to explaining some of the most disturbing news we've had to date concerning the capitalist imperialist escalation of violence, it also explains some of the most foundational tenets of the Marxist dialectical materialist worldview. Thanks in advance, and as always, check out patreon.com/SparkYL for more content, and please consider supporting us and our efforts for as low as $2 a month by becoming a patron. Without any further ado, this is the January 3rd, 2026 Sparkyl Special Report concerning the invasion of Venezuela and the kidnapping of its president by the United States. Today, the dominant capitalist country in the world, the United States, without declaring war or consulting Congress, committed a joint military operation against the sovereign state of Venezuela, resulting in bombings, loss of life, and notably, the capture of the country's president, Nicolas Maduro. The liberal media has focused on how these actions are illegal, which is perfectly true according to the laws of U.S. liberal society. But they are quite legal according to the laws governing the productive forces, the real laws at play in our world, the laws of power and class, the laws of capitalist imperialism. These laws, like the laws within a country, favor the ruling class. The laws of a capitalist country ensure that the two great antagonistic classes within that country, the bourgeoisie and proletariat, do not devour themselves constantly in struggle, and that their struggle may be channeled into victories for the ruling class, the class of the bourgeoisie. The laws of capitalist imperialism are similar, and, like the production and market these laws are based on, they apply internationally across the whole globe. The laws of capitalist imperialism show that the dominant imperial countries and the dominated countries, the powerful and the weak on the international stage, will always be caught in an antagonistic contradiction, with the rights of nations, specifically that of national autonomy, really only real for the dominant imperial power, just as the rights of the people under liberal democracy are really only real for the dominant class, the capitalists. Why is this the case? Why can't each country develop the economy and rights of their people on their own merits? Because capitalist imperialism developed from and contains within it the basic laws of capitalist production, not least of which is the law of profit. Aligned with this law, the United States, and, to a lesser degree, any developed country, can only prowl the earth for cheap labor and resources for its bourgeoisie, and will always do so if it has the ability. Capitalists of all shapes and sizes must constantly invent new ways to valorize labor and extract resources at faster and cheaper rates than their competitors. In the micro view of a single proprietor within a country, this looks like denying employee vacations, finding cheaper suppliers, downsizing, and any number of other tactics. In the macro view of the movements of countries on the world stage, it looks like the dominant imperial bourgeoisie using the vehicle of their government to commit horrendous acts of war and espionage on foreign countries. They do this in order to seize new resources, having the government pay the bill for these seizures and thus lowering their cost of production, and, most crucially, so that the proletarians of foreign countries can be the primary source of labor valorization over and against the citizens of the imperially dominant country, which maintains the rule of the imperial bourgeoisie by transferring, so to speak, the discontent caused by oppression out of the domestic proletariat of the imperial country and into the proletariat of foreign countries. This uneven arrangement chains the weaker countries to the will and domination of the stronger countries. With oil being the primary monopoly of the United States and the seat of power for its bourgeoisie, the U.S. government can only act in horrendous ways to the Venezuelans, whose country holds one of the world's richest oil reserves. Moreover, the Venezuelan proletariat, largely due to the actions of foreign capital, is relatively weak and impoverished, with their national currency inflated, we could say liquidated, by the US dollar to such a point that the enormous sounding minimum wage of 13 million Venezuelan bolivars a month amounts to only 43 US dollars. US military aggression, and especially the implanting of US capitalists into the Venezuelan economy as a result of intervention, brings this beleaguered section of the proletariat into the fold, where their dire status can be thoroughly exploited by the machine of American capital. It is impossible to see the recent actions in Caracas as anything other than an enormous escalation in the antagonism of the contradictions within the capitalist imperial system as a whole. These antagonisms are growing sharper, stretching across the world and pulling everyone into them. The majority of the world can see their own potential future in the desperate plight of the Venezuelans at the hands of dominant imperial countries, while the imperialists who rival the United States, those in the BRICS Plus Association, will be looking for their own Venezuela to invade, forced to escalate their own imperial ambitions, or be dominated by the rapidly and violently expanding Euro-American market themselves. As the antagonisms sharpen, they are bound to boil out of the realm of traditional politics and into politics by other means, the politics of international imperial war. This war is, in fact, ongoing currently, disguised as regional conflicts within the flashpoints where these two antagonistic imperial camps meet, and has grown a new front today in South America. In the face of an overwhelming enemy and without international support, there is no way Venezuela, in the long run, can maintain this front. It can only cave to the imperialists, if not now, then later. We are seeing this fact proven true in real time. But the Venezuelans, at least the majority of them, will receive their international support, and it will come in the only form it can, in the form of the revolutionary international proletariat. As for the minority of Venezuelan bourgeoisie, especially those capitalists and empire-loving snakes like Maria Machado, who welcome imperial violence and the trampling of their people's rights with open arms and dollar signs in their eyes, such compradors will be the first to face the music of the new society when our band begins to play. When the international proletariat again finds its footing, it will see with rage-filled eyes, and it will give its support to every people oppressed by capitalist imperialism, taking the fight directly to the capitalist aggressors and their compradors everywhere. It is the poor and working Venezuelans who are targeted first of all by the egregious actions of the U.S. government, and who will face the direst consequences as a result of them. These lower classes can only look for their liberation through the vehicle of a socialist revolution, and will find no real help to be gained by the organizations of the capitalists. Venezuela's neighbor, Colombia, has already readied its arms for clashes against the lower classes of Venezuela, dispatching troops to its borders so as to keep out what is bound to be a massive amount of Venezuelan wartime emigration. A socialist revolution is the only way to bring actual national determination and sovereignty to the people of Venezuela, not to mention the whole world. As communists, we must build organizations that can convey this crucial point not just to the lower classes of Venezuela, but to the masses generally, uniting them underneath the leadership of a fighting and organized revolutionary proletarian class. This is the only way to bring practical international support to those weaker countries that are dominated by stronger ones in the course of the spontaneous operations of capitalist imperialism. It is with a heavy heart that we must acknowledge the immense loss of life and potential that Venezuela is now experiencing. But we should not let this dampen our fighting spirit. As communists, our movement is the movement for the liberation of humanity, and is also the movement of every freedom-loving Venezuelan, and every person who wishes to end the violence of the capitalist imperial system. The success of our movement, the success of communism, is the only way to end the violence of imperial aggression, and we proudly walk forward in this path for the final victory of Venezuelans, Palestinians, and all the oppressed of humankind. That's the end of the special report. This was a reading of the January 3rd, 2026 Sparkyl Special Report concerning the invasion of Venezuela and the kidnapping of its president by the United States. This report was first published on our Patreon, which can be found at patreon.com/Sparkyl. To further Marxist theory and education, get new issues of Sparkyl, as well as to support the magazine and its contributors, please visit us and become a patron at patreon.com/Sparkyl, where we have multiple payment tiers available for as little as $2 a month. That's patreon.com/SparkYL. Thank you.